2 years ago, I broke up with Premiere Pro. I even made a whole video bashing it, telling editors to run for the hills for DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut Pro instead. But for the past few months, I've been working with some clients who basically forced me back into using Premiere Pro again to collaborate with them, and turns out I might be a Premiere Pro convert again. Full context, I started editing with Premiere Pro back when I was about 16 years old. I learned all of my initial video editing skills using the software.
A legitimate version that I paid for.
But I loved it. It was the main software that everybody was trying to learn how to use when I was in film school. Everybody was basically using Premiere, and I didn't see any reason to change that. It was the industry standard, and I was too familiar with it to change to anything else. But like many editors, I started to get incredibly frustrated with all the crashes, the bugs, the slowdowns, the lagginess, It was literally making editing anything a living hell, and I hated and dreaded opening up the software to the point where I was questioning my whole interest in video editing because I didn't want to edit anything. And then it got to the point where a lot of the creators that I was following online seemed to be popping up with videos saying how much they loved DaVinci Resolve and how they were moving over to it and why you should be moving over it too. And this just kept happening with more and more YouTubers popping up on my feeds that I'd followed for a long time, and I was like, why are they moving over? Maybe there's something to this whole DaVinci Resolve software, and maybe I don't have to be boxed into this Adobe ecosystem that pulls too much money out of your pocket every single month and has very questionable, shady practices that many other YouTubers have spoken about more in depth than I have, and I'm not gonna go into it in this video. So after a bit of convincing, I eventually swapped over to Resolve and fell in love with it very quickly. And full disclosure, I still use it for all of these YouTube videos that you see on the channel. Right, Chili? However, 2 years later, at the start of this year, I landed clients who wanted to only use Premiere Pro to be able to collaborate with them. And at that point I was like, I'm gonna have to jump into this software that I dreaded again and go through the whole rigmarole of crashes and slowdowns and be frustrated about editing again. I mean, the first thing I noticed after my first project was how there was basically no crashing, no lag. Everything seemed to be working really smoothly. I didn't have any weird technical bugs that would plague my usage all the time. And even that alone was like a massive, wow, Adobe, listening to the community, well done. Who would have thought if you listen to us and fix the software, then we'll actually use it. But weirdly, Premiere Pro also has a bunch of features now, as of recording this video in July 2025, that many other of the video softwares don't even have. And I think they're actually at the forefront of a lot of cool editing technologies and little native plugins that really help make editing a lot more smooth and simple and less of a pain in the ass for editors like myself. First one that comes to mind is a fairly recent one, which is the whole new AI search feature where you can literally search for anything in your project, including text, visuals, metadata, you name it, and you can just find it very easily by typing. I'm shocked by how much I've actually been using this for my edits, especially when I'm working on a client project and I'm not too familiar with like all of the footage that they have. I can easily just search for something like laptop and then find shots of a person working on a laptop for an overlay, or I can search captions because Adobe's whole text-based transcription system is so good. It's better than DaVinci, it's better than Final Cut. You can fight me on that, DaVinci fanboy. It just is. Like, it's perfect. Well, it's not perfect, but you know, it's as good as I've ever seen a text transcription feature. And just using this whole AI search engine should be standard in every single editing software now, and I'm sure the other softwares are going to end up copying it because it's just so damn good, and it just speeds up my workflow a lot when I'm working on projects. Also, very new features like generative extend, which uses AI to lengthen out any clip, and it makes like fake AI frames to lengthen it. This has been a godsend, especially for one of the clients that I work with, who's another YouTuber called Scott Peters, where I need to extend his B-roll because it just cuts out there, or the camera like pans away because the cameraman got bored. And just to extend it out so it like times better with the beats of the music or with the voiceover. That has been another godsend because before that, I don't know what I would have to do. I would have to like do a freeze frame or maybe slow down the footage to make it lengthen. I'd have to find some workaround or spend more time searching for another clip that could slot between that gap. Now I can just use this AI extend thing to just make my life way easier, and it looks really good. Like, genuinely, most times I don't think the average person would know the difference, and I've used it many times on edits, and it looks great. It's something that, again, every single software should have. I think Adobe are planning to start charging for this as an extra, which is a bummer. Honestly, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna be someone to defend the pricing strategies of Adobe products. If you're a professional like me and you are getting paid to edit for clients and you need to use Premiere for whatever reason, then obviously, like, yeah, it's worth it. It's better to work for a client that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to work with if you didn't know how to use Premiere or own it. But we're never going to beat the one-time purchase of Final Cut and the one-time purchase of Resolve Studio / having it for free if you don't have Studio. Like, Adobe is still miles behind these other softwares with accessibility in terms of pricing. But at least now with the features and the stability and, you know, actually making it feel like a software that I kind of enjoy using now, like, or maybe really enjoy using it. There's still some problems with it, which I'll talk about a bit later. But if I'm paying for an editing software that should be the top of the line, you know, standard, industry standard editing software that everybody wants to use, like, I want my money to be going towards making cool plugins like this and advancements in the software to actually make it really good and really enjoyable for editors to use. The plugin support as well with Premiere Pro is really, really good. There's so many cool plugins, especially from nights at the editing roundtable, that I have been using on every single project. Stuff like Excalibur, other softwares need to have this to be able to quickly pull up an effect, hit enter, and then you can apply it on a clip. Like, that alone has saved me so much time, and it's just so much enjoyable to use rather than clicking into a menu. Every editing software should have this, and I know Adobe didn't make it, but it seems like plugins are maybe a bit more accessible or easy to make with Premiere Pro. Don't quote me on that, I'm not a plugin developer. Maybe it's just because the software's been around for longer, or more plugin makers are gonna slowly start doing stuff with DaVinci Resolve. I know people like Mr. Alex Tech and Jake Whip make amazing plugins for DaVinci Resolve that I use a lot whenever I use the software. And Final Cut Pro, you know, has the whole motion VFX suite that you can use to have cool plugins. But there's something about Premiere Pro's customizability just with the panels that makes it so you can really move around the workspace in a way that feels good for you. And I've done it with Premiere Pro. I've customized it to my absolute slightly perfectionistic organizational standards. So I could just quickly hit a workspace and I have it looking exactly like how I want, because you can shift those panels around. And you really can't do that with Final Cut Pro or DaVinci in the same way. And I wish they would allow it to be a bit more customizable. But for now, as I'm recording this video, that's not the case. And also we have to talk about After Effects. After Effects is incredible. If you know how to use it, it's an absolute powerhouse of motion graphics, VFX, you name it. Like, After Effects has been on the scene for as long as I got into filmmaking, like messing around with it when I was 14, 15 years old, and it's still incredible. And After Effects has also gotten a lot better in my opinion since I last really was delving into it on projects. And just having that integration with Premiere Pro is world class. Like, you're literally having dynamic link with the best, in my opinion, for what I do anyway, the best motion graphics animation software that is currently available for editors like me. I'm not saying it's the best in the world, because people are gonna roast me in the comments for that, but like, it's incredible. Like, After Effects is great. When it works well, which it seems to now, it doesn't really crash on me, like maybe once or twice. It's amazing, but it's still a bit stupid that Premiere Pro is the only software, the only one that doesn't have a built-in rotoscoping tool. Final Cut has it now, which is kind of a recent update as of recording this video. DaVinci has it because, you know, Fusion is integrated in it. Premiere Pro doesn't have anything.
Editor Adam here. Adobe recently previewed that they are in fact adding auto masking into Premiere Pro in a future update, and it looks pretty good. So well done, Adobe, for listening to frustrated users like me.
And yeah, I know Fusion is more confusing than After Effects. It is. I've spent a bit of time learning it. I know my way around it somewhat, but honestly, I just think the layer system is more intuitive for my particular brain than the node system. So After Effects is more beginner friendly. There's just way more tutorials, way more plugins for it. I just think Fusion is a bit too confusing for me personally. Maybe I'm just the node thing. Don't like it as much as the layer thing. So Adobe have stepped up because competition works. We the users complain for years and years and years to Adobe that you need to fix Premiere, you need to make it better. And then software like DaVinci and Final Cut a little bit, they're getting there. They started to really like say, we're gonna give you everything you want for. We're gonna listen to the users. We're actually gonna take on board what you need and what you want as editors and give it to you. Enough creatives were just like, bye Adobe, and then they just went over. And then I guess Adobe were like, oh, we need to do something. And then they actually started to realize, yeah, we can't lose all of these creatives. We need them back. And they listened to us. And it's quite funny that a multi-billion-dollar company can be like shaken to the core by enough creatives being like, bye, we're gonna ditch you. And that really does just show like the power of us creatives, like when we use our voice for good and we don't stand up for no nonsense, we can actually like make pretty substantial changes to our whole industry that will actually help all fellow creatives in the long run. And I know some of you watching this might think, what's the point in learning like multiple softwares? I just want to stick with one and use that one. Well, I'm sure you've heard the quote, jack of all trades, master of none. But Turns out that that quote is actually not the full quote, believe it or not, because the full quote is jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of none, which is something that not too long ago I read and was like, oh, that's the full quote? I've been lied to forever. And I think there's real power in being able to use different editing softwares and just learning the basics of each of them, because ultimately as an editor, your skills are transferable. Or if you're not an editor and you're somebody who's watching this who's just a creative in a field, being able to use whatever softwares within the particular discipline that you have, and being able to know like a bunch of them, does really, really help with you being able to land jobs, especially as a video editor. I'm not sure about like if you're an artist in different areas of creativity, but like you would literally lose out on jobs because you don't know Premiere or you don't know Final Cut just because that particular person wants you to edit in that software. And yeah, you might get lucky and they don't care what you want to edit for, but I've noticed more so that a lot of people want to like say, just use Premiere because they want to hop back into it and, you know, have some creative control to tweak things. So just be aware that being flexible in your skills will actually make you more hireable. Is that a word? Hireable? It is now, as a creative, and the better you'll actually be able to be as an editor overall. I remember recently I was working on an Instagram short, and for some reason the magic mask was being weird in DaVinci Resolve, and I was like, I can't figure it out. And then I went into After Effects to try and use the magic mask, and it was still being weird on this footage because I knew how to rotoscope in After Effects. And then I was like, oh, maybe Final Cut Pro's new magic mask will do it. So then I hopped into Final Cut Pro's magic mask, and then that ended up working for some reason. And if I only knew how to use DaVinci Resolve, I would have been pretty screwed in that moment, or would have had to spend a lot of time just trying to like open up Premiere Pro and be like, how do you do rotoscoping? Where is it? And then I would realize it isn't there, but it should be Adobe. And also it's really easy for your whole creative identity to be attached to the kind of tools that you use. But at the end of the day, it's your taste, instincts, and storytelling that really affect who you are as a creative and what you can actually do to stand out for clients and make them think, this guy is one of a kind. I need to keep hold of him. I need to make sure that we keep working together long term, and I'm gonna pay him more money. Please take the money. It's not about what you edit with as much as I'm guilty as the next YouTuber for making videos saying, which editing software is the best one? Yeah, because it gets a lot of views, it actually did. So, you know, I was happy about it. But honestly, use the tool that feels most comfortable to you, what makes more sense with the particular kind of editor that you are, and yeah, just learn the basics of all of them. Because you never know when a client's gonna ask you to use an incredible masterpiece of a software like Windows Movie Maker. To think about, I actually haven't used that software in like 20 years. Can I try it? Oh, I've got a Mac, I can't even try it. Windows Movie Maker actually looks pretty decent now, what the hell? Got a dark mode and everything. Maybe I should switch to it. If you want to learn how to be a much more efficient editor and also get over the times when you're editing and your motivation is just crashing to the ground, then you should definitely check out this other video on my channel where I'll showcase 5 habits of highly productive editors that you absolutely need to know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.